When my dad died in 2016, he had $40 in his bank account. When I was little, he lived in an apartment building filled with heroin addicts. My mother chose to go to Mexico, and although we had no money, we were afforded a beautiful life in a village. But there were many days we didn't know where our food was going to come from. Luckily, my stepdad was a fisherman and he would get us fish, and that was often our dinner. My point in saying this is, I never thought I would own my own home. It is a very unlikely thing that I own my own home. I come from folks who barely could make ends meet. And I am an artist that photographs bodies searching for self-love. That's how I make my living. And I own my own home. When I was 17, I had a full scholarship to go to medical school at the University of Arizona. But instead, I packed up a Toyota truck and I drove to Panama with a friend. I had a cooler full of film and my camera and every hope in the world in my heart. I didn't end up going to medical school. I ended up becoming self-employed when I was 18, and I've been supporting myself ever since. My dad died before I bought this house. I would be so proud to show him that I own my own home. He never was able to own a home, and I just know he would be so happy to see how I've become a homeowner despite all the odds. Over the last month, I've taken some photos of my dog. And I've also taken some photos of my beautiful 11-year-old boy because about 3 weeks ago, he had a fainting spell and he landed on his beautiful little chin. It was really scary and we had to go to the emergency room. And I'm still waiting to see some specialists for him. He's doing okay now, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I was worried. I also got inspired to finally take a brand new self-portrait. Oh my gosh, it takes so much time because I have to set the timer, but I finally got a self-portrait. It's been about 3 years, so it was time. These are a couple of the photo shoots I've recently done. This mama came from Denver, and this beautiful woman, Tasha, came all the way from Florida. She wants to make a book about people with physical differences, and she wanted to start with having a photo shoot of herself. Of course, over the last month, I've been to the hot springs. I cannot live without the hot springs. I don't know how other people survive without going to the hot springs. But on a side note, for the fact that I love hot springs, is that I feel so proud that I can show this video to you all. Even 5 years ago, I would have never shown you all this video with my body, with all my fat and all my cellulite and looking the way I do, which my nervous system likes to say that is wrong. I wouldn't have wanted to shown you. It wouldn't have felt safe. I would have been too afraid to be judged as less than because I am fat and I have cellulite and I am a 43-year-old woman. But I'm pretty happy to say that now I can show this video of my body. She's big, she's got cellulite, she's older, she's fat, and I love her. And if someone else wants to judge it, it's none of my business. This beautiful place is White Sands in New Mexico, just a little east of Las Cruces in New Mexico. And oh my goodness, this sand is made out of little bitty selenite crystals. Selenite crystals. Oh my goodness, I'd never been here before, and walking around truly, honestly, feels so good. You have to go. It's full on spring in Tucson and my backyard is blooming. This is aloe vera. It's so beautiful. And actually you can eat the flowers or you can kind of suck the nectar out of them. The color in my backyard right now is pretty phenomenal. In Arizona, we call this prickly pear. Where I grew up in Mexico, we called it nopales. And it is so delicious, especially these tender little babies. There's a few prickers on there. You kind of have to just scrape off with your fingernail, but yum. Nopales. Hello, my loves. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Life is a wild thing. I'm just sitting in my backyard, came to take a little cold plunge, which I'm gonna do right after our little talk here, and have a little drink. And I love sunbathing back here. I often lay back here naked. I love laying in the full sun naked a couple times a week if possible, just for like 5 minutes, full body, totally naked. It might sound, I think there's some like new age stuff out there on that, but to be honest, I do it because it really feels good and it lifts my mood, and I don't stay long enough to get burnt. Just a little full body sun. And whew, yeah, the last month has been a lot per usual. I'm sure it was a lot for you too. I don't know anyone who is experiencing a lot personally. But what I do know is that even when I'm uncomfortable, even when I'm sad, I still have so much gratitude. That has been the main bonus of doing so much healing. First it was body image healing, and then it was just healing such deeper things. My relationships, how I have intimate relationships with partners, with my husband, how I do my business, how I conduct photo ceremonies. I call them photo ceremonies now, photo shoots. But the main thing that I'm loving lately is the ease that I feel with being uncomfortable. That's been a major plus. However, what I have been struggling with lately is not feeling horrible about myself when I don't feel productive. This has been really interesting, and I only like could define it just a few days ago. I was feeling pretty exhausted, which is common for me. I think it's a combination of repressed emotions and just being human. I get pretty exhausted, and on those days I don't get much accomplished. And I'm self-employed. I've been self-employed since I was a teenager.
And if I don't hustle, my bills don't get paid. And there's some days I have nothing in me. And I noticed just a few days ago when this happened, I didn't have anything in me. I had nothing to create. I couldn't bring myself to get onto my computer. And I felt so horrible about myself. My old thoughts of when I really struggled with body image started to come back of, you're useless. Why are you even on this planet? That was really interesting. And I can convince myself pretty quick. Like, why are you even here? This is ridiculous. And it wasn't until then I did my breath work that night that I was like, oh my goodness. My absence of productivity feels really unsafe to my nervous system, to where I can start convincing myself that I don't deserve to be alive. And once I realized that, that kind of passed. And I was like, oh, actually, I can just be unproductive and still enjoy the sunset and still be kind to myself. I still deserve to be here. But it was so interesting to catch myself. This was the first time, and I know this has happened a lot for me in the past, but this was the first time that I was able to pause and be like, oh, wait, honey. You aren't being productive, and you don't think you're worthy of continuing your life, or that you're valuable. And this is my latest healing, is the healing of allowing myself to be unproductive. I have to hustle. I get to, and I have to. That's how I run my business. If I don't answer the emails, no one's gonna answer the emails. I'm a one-woman team. So I am so grateful that I can muster the energy to do all the things I need to do to run my business, to be self-employed like I have for over 20 years. And I'm a self-employed, body positive, naked photographer. I mean, there's not that many of us out there. There's not. For a reason. You know, I'm not super wealthy, but I pay my bills. I own a home, and I own a home because a really dear friend, before he died, he was a dear friend of my mother's, but also of mine. Before he died, he wanted to gift some money to people he loved, and he decided that I was one of those people. And he gifted me $40,000 to put a down payment on a home. At the time, I had this much savings. I still have this much savings, but I have equity in my home now. So without him, I never would have been able to own a home. He made it possible for me to be a homeowner and to now actually have a savings account in the form of equity of my home, because it's gone up in value, as most property has. Anyways, where did I get on that tangent? The point was, if I don't work, my work doesn't get done. My bills don't get paid. And I am getting to find that peaceful place of being what I call a nobody. Ram Dass talks about this, and he has an audiobook I recently listened to, Becoming Nobody. And I really been leaning into that nobody nothingness. So on those days when I don't feel productive and I'm tired, I just lean into the nothingness and see what might be there. Maybe there's nothing. Maybe I just need to lay down and rest. Or maybe there's actually something magical. And that's what happened the other day. After all day, I was like, oh, I'm not productive. My life is over. I did my breath work and I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's actually some magic in this unproductiveness. There is magic in being unproductive. And so that's my latest thing that I'm leaning into, that I'm exploring with my healing. I realize that I'm not a photographer. I'm not even a mom. I'm not even Jade Beale. I'm just a human existing. And one day I'll be gone. And it's not to be, that can sound kind of morbid, but the way I see it is when I can release all those identities and just be present to, like, right now, the breeze on my skin, the sun is setting. I can hear the highway in the distance. This being human is pretty fascinating. Even with all the pain and all the things, when I can become nothingness and just witness the beauty, and I mean the beauty in the darkness and the lightness, it feels so much more tranquil. It feels better. I feel more present. And I'll tell you what, I had a photo ceremony today. I had a photo shoot with a mother and her 2-month-old baby girl. Oh my goodness, so adorable. And her beloved, her husband. And the more work I do, the more healing I do with my own healing, I notice it show up in my work. It's just more and more sacred. It's more and more emotional. I could barely stop crying the whole ceremony, the photo shoot, because I was so taken by the beauty. Doing this healing makes me such a better mom. And I still have a lot to learn. I still have a lot to go. I will continue this healing until my last day. But that's what I'm grateful for right now, is leaning in to being a nobody. What if Elizabeth Gilbert, I recently listened to a podcast that she was on, and she talked about, what if the greatest thing we leave behind is like helping someone cross the street, and that was our whole purpose of being alive? What if my whole purpose of being alive was just to witness the sensation and gorgeousness of a sunset? I don't know, but these are things I'm leaning into, and now I'm gonna get into that water. It's cold water. That is rainwater that I've collected. That right there, that's my rainwater catchment. It catches the water off the roof of my house, and then I fill this tub up with rainwater, and I leave it overnight, and it gets real cold. And I'm a little hot right now. It was like 87 in Tucson today, and tomorrow is Easter. It's almost 90. I think it might be 90 tomorrow. So I'm kind of hot. So I'm gonna jump in to this cold water and just sit with being nothing. I'm sending you so much love, so much gratitude. Being human's hard, but it's also beautiful.
It's very easy to blame our body for all of the hardships of being human, but I promise you it's not your body's fault. It's taken me a long time to accept this rounder version of myself, and I have found that I'm safe in this body, just the way she looks, and that I can love her, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.